Charles James Fox. Imagine losing $12 million in today's money before you turn 25. That's exactly what Charles James Fox did in 18th century England. This guy was a member of parliament, but he spent more time at gambling tables than in government meetings. Fox had a serious problem with cards and dice. He would sit at gambling tables for 24 hours straight, sometimes losing the equivalent of $500,000 in a single night. Some even claimed he gambled so recklessly he once ended the night in his underwear, though this might be more legend than fact. The craziest part? His father kept bailing him out. Every time Fox went broke, Daddy would pay his debts. This just made Fox gamble more because he knew there was always a safety net. Fox's gambling got so out of control that he once lost £11,000, about $1.4 million today, in a single sitting. He had to sell his estate and still couldn't cover his debts. His gambling addiction was so famous that other politicians used it against him in elections. Here was a guy making laws about the country's finances while being completely unable to manage his own money. Akio Kashiwagi. Meet the man who could win or lose $10 million in a single week of baccarat. Akio Kashiwagi was a Japanese real estate mogul who became legendary in casinos around the world in the 1980s and early 90s. Kashiwagi didn't bet small. His hands ranged from $100,000 to $200,000, and when he played, the money moved fast. Casinos in Atlantic City even sent private jets to fly him in from Japan. His biggest documented loss came at Trump Taj Mahal in 1990, where over a few days he lost $10 million. Donald Trump watched some of the action himself. Kashiwagi paid back $6 million but left $4 million unpaid. He believed he could beat the House with persistence and deep pockets. His strategy? Make massive bets and wait for the odds to swing in his favor. Sometimes it worked, like when he won $22 million in Australia. But losses came just as fast. By the early 90s, Kashiwagi owed millions to casinos across the globe. Then, in 1992, he was found brutally murdered in his home near Mount Fuji. The case remains unsolved, but many suspect his gambling debts may have caught up to him. Harry Kakavas. Harry Kakavas lost $1.5 billion gambling in just 14 months. Let that sink in. $1.5 billion in little over a year. This Australian real estate developer turned his massive wealth into the biggest individual gambling loss in history. Kakavas was a high-functioning guy who built a successful property business. But he had one devastating weakness: baccarat. He would fly to casinos around the world, betting hundreds of thousands of dollars per hand. His gambling escalated quickly. What started as entertainment became an unstoppable addiction. Crown Casino in Melbourne became his second home. He was betting up to $300,000 per hand, playing multiple hands at once. The most shocking part was that the casino knew he had a serious gambling problem, but kept encouraging him to play. They gave him free flights, luxury accommodations, and personal hosts. When Kakavas tried to set limits on his gambling, the casino would talk him out of it. In 2006, Kakavas lost $164 million in just 5.5 hours of baccarat. Think about that. Nearly $30 million per hour. By the time his gambling spree ended, he had lost his entire fortune and owed money to multiple casinos. Kakavas later sued Crown Casino, claiming they took advantage of his gambling addiction. The case went all the way to Australia's High Court, where he lost. The court ruled that despite his addiction, he was responsible for his own gambling decisions. Terrance Watanabe. Terrance Watanabe inherited his family's gift company and turned it into a $100 million business. Then he discovered gambling and lost nearly everything in Las Vegas. In 2007, Watanabe went on one of the most destructive gambling binges in Vegas history. He lost $127 million in a single year at Caesars Palace and Rio casinos. That's about $350,000 every single day for an entire year. Watanabe didn't just play, he lived at the casinos. He had permanent suites and would gamble for 12 to 20 hours straight. His games of choice were blackjack and slots, and he was known for making massive bets on multiple hands simultaneously. The casinos loved him so much they gave him everything free: food, drinks, entertainment, travel. But they also did something more troubling. Staff reported that Watanabe was often visibly intoxicated while gambling, which should have stopped the action. Instead, casinos kept serving him alcohol and encouraging him to play. His gambling got so extreme that in one session he lost $5 million in just a few hours playing slots. Slots. Most people lose a few hundred on slots and call it a day. Watanabe was feeding million-dollar amounts into machines. When Watanabe couldn't pay his final gambling debts, Caesar sued him for $14.7 million. Watanabe countersued, claiming the casino violated gaming laws by letting him gamble while intoxicated. The case was eventually settled out of court. Archie Karas. Archie Karas turned $50 into $40 million, then lost it all back. His story is both the greatest gambling comeback and the most spectacular collapse in Vegas history. In 1992, Karas arrived in Vegas with just $50 to his name. He was a Greek immigrant who had been playing poker since childhood. Starting with small games, he began an incredible winning streak that lasted 3 years. First, he turned his $50 into $17,000 playing poker. Then, he convinced a friend to loan him $10,000, which he turned into $30,000 shooting pool. From there, he moved to high-stakes poker and dice games. Karas was fearless. He would bet hundreds of thousands of dollars on a single dice roll. His bankroll kept growing. $1 million, then $10 million, then $17 million. At his peak in 1995, he had $40 million in cash. But what goes up must come down. Karas got overconfident and started making even bigger bets. He also expanded into games where he had less skill, like baccarat and craps. The losing streak that followed was just as spectacular as his winning streak. In just 3 years, from 1995 to 1998, Karas lost the entire $40 million. He went back to playing small-stakes poker, trying to rebuild. But he never came close to recapturing that magic run. The most tragic part? Karas couldn't stop gambling even after losing everything. He was later banned from Nevada casinos for marked cards and has been arrested multiple times for gambling-related offenses. The man who once controlled $40 million ended up broke and banned from the city that made him famous. Michael Jordan. Even the greatest basketball player of all time isn't immune to gambling problems. Michael Jordan's competitive nature, which made him dominant on the court, nearly destroyed him at the poker table and golf course. Jordan's gambling was an open secret in the NBA. He would play cards with teammates on team flights, often for thousands of dollars per hand. His poker games were legendary, sometimes lasting all night before important games. One of the most talked about moments came during the 1993 NBA playoffs. Jordan was seen at an Atlantic City casino until the early morning hours, just hours before an important game. He said he was just having dinner, but rumors swirled that he lost a lot of money that night. However, the exact amount he lost isn't confirmed. Jordan's golf gambling was even more extreme. He would regularly bet $100,000 on a single round of golf. His gambling partners included other celebrities and businessmen who could afford these stakes, but the amounts were still staggering. One documented golf bet saw Jordan lose $1.25 million to businessman Richard Esquinas over several rounds. Esquinas later wrote a book about Jordan's gambling, claiming the basketball star had serious problems controlling his betting. The gambling rumors became so serious that some people suggested Jordan's first retirement from basketball in 1993 was actually a secret suspension related to his gambling. The NBA and Jordan denied this, but the speculation persisted. Pete Rose. Pete Rose holds the record for most hits in baseball history. He also holds the record for the most spectacular fall from grace due to gambling. Rose's betting started small but grew out of control during his playing and managing career. By the 1980s, he was betting on baseball games almost daily, including games involving his own team, the Cincinnati Reds. Some reports say Rose would bet between $2,000 and $10,000 per game, which might not sound huge compared to other stories, but it was devastating because of what he was betting on. Betting on your own sport, especially your own team, is the ultimate taboo in professional sports. The investigation into Rose's gambling revealed he owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to bookies. He was so desperate for money that he was selling autographs and memorabilia just to cover his gambling debts. When the scandal broke in 1989, Rose initially denied everything. He spent 15 years claiming he never bet on baseball before finally admitting the truth in 2004. By then, the damage was done. He was banned from baseball for life and prohibited from entering the Hall of Fame. Rose's gambling cost him more than money. It cost him his reputation, his career, and his place in baseball history. A man who should be celebrated as one of the greatest players ever is instead remembered primarily for his gambling problems. Nick Leeson. Nick Leeson single-handedly destroyed Barings Bank. a 233-year-old British institution that had survived the Napoleonic Wars and two world wars. This 28-year-old trader was supposed to be making safe profits in Singapore, but instead he was secretly placing massive unauthorized bets on Japanese stock markets. When the 1995 Kobe earthquake hit Japan, his positions went catastrophically wrong. He doubled down, desperately trying to win back his losses. By the time it was over, he had lost $1.3 billion, more than the entire bank was worth. Barings. Bank which had financed the Louisiana Purchase and counted the Queen as a client, was sold for just £1. The craziest part? His colleagues thought he was a genius because he was hiding all his losses in a secret account labeled 88888, which means good luck in Chinese. Jerome Kerviel. Jerome Kerviel lost $7 billion while working as a junior trader at French bank Société Générale. This wasn't supposed to be possible. He was just a mid-level employee with limited authority. But Kerviel knew the bank's computer systems and used that knowledge to place unauthorized trades worth more than the GDP of some countries. For months, he made fake trades to cover his real ones, creating phantom profits and losses. He was running a one-man trading operation worth $73 billion. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, his positions collapsed spectacularly. The bank was forced to unwind his trades over 3 days, and the losses kept mounting. Kerviel was sentenced to 5 years in prison and ordered to pay back the full $7.2 billion, which would take him about 180,000 years at minimum wage. Kerry Packer. Australian media mogul Kerry Packer was once Australia's richest man and gambled like it. His largest reported single loss was $28 million during a Vegas trip. Packer once lost $7 million in 30 minutes at a London casino. During another session, he lost $10 million so quickly the casino hadn't finished setting up his credit. He would tip dealers more than most people make yearly. Despite massive losses, Packer also won big, once taking $33 million in a single session. His lifetime losses exceeded $100 million, but barely dented his multi-billion fortune. Did you enjoy this breakdown? Then subscribe and hit that bell for more.